What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Staples. Today we're going to be talking about the pigeon stretch. This is one of my favorite ones for anyone's program. Alright guys, so when talking about lower body mobility or flexibility, we're primarily concerned with the following things. We're looking at hip extension, hip flexion, hip abduction, internal rotation, as well as external. Okay, so we're going to focus in on, especially today, the internal and external rotation part. We're not looking for more of the other or more of internal or more of external. We just want a healthy balance of both. So over the years of treating and training a wide variety of people, you start to learn that everyone's hips are different. A lot of people have a little bit more hip internal rotation, and there's a lot of other people who have a lot of hip external rotation. It really depends on that person's hip anatomy. You can't really force someone who's very externally rotated to squat with their feet perfectly straight, and vice versa. You can't force someone who's very internally rotated to point their toes out and squat and expect to hit depth and expect to have healthy hips. We'll be focusing primarily on the glutes and the hips, stretching both internal and external rotators. Alright guys, so the first variation of the pigeon stretch, we'll call this the lazy pigeon. Good for beginners or anybody who's concerned about arching or flexing their back. We're going to be lying flat on the ground near a vertical surface, be it a wall, be it a rig, be it anything. We're going to make sure we keep our lower back nice and neutral and flat the entire time. First, we'll take my left foot, put it on top of the wall. We want to try to be around 90 degrees in relation to my hip and my knee. All right, my opposite leg, we're gonna toss that ankle on that knee that's 90 degrees from the hip, right across. And we're just gonna hang out here, making sure that lower back is neutral. Feel free to push your knee down to get a little bit more of a glute stretch. If you wanna make this harder, move yourself closer to the wall, keeping yourself flat and flush against the ground. If it's a bit too hard for you and you see you're arching, move yourself away from that wall. So the second variation, guys, is going to be the elevated pigeon. We're going to do this on a box. You can easily do it off of a couch or a mattress. We're going to get in front of that elevated surface, get my leg up and put it right in front of me. Don't be afraid to continue the stretch if your knee is off that surface. That just means you're lacking some external rotation. We want to be in a position that we can get that shin nice and flat without cranking it down. With the other side of my body, I'm thinking about sitting back and staying upright as much as possible. If you're able to, drop a knee down depending on the height of that surface and feel the stretch. Again, if you can't keep your ankle right beside your knee, again, that's a little bit of lacking in external rotation. Don't cry about it. Just bring that ankle a little bit closer towards you. So the third variation of the pigeon stretch is the OG pigeon. We're gonna do this one off the ground. I'm gonna get one leg and keep it straight. The other one in front of me, I'm gonna do the same bend as we did with the elevated pigeon. And we're gonna try to keep ourselves nice and upright. The same deal applies if you can't keep that ankle right across the knee. Again, don't be afraid, just bring that ankle a little bit closer to you and create a little bit of a V with your leg. Okay, if that's too easy, push it out and even hinge forward, trying to keep your back a little bit more neutral and flatten out to get a full stretch. All right, and the final variation of the pigeon stretch is the kinkiest one. We're gonna throw a band around the crease of our hip. We want to distract the hip laterally and to the back posteriorly. So make sure when you're setting this one up on a rig or whatever you have that's sturdy, you're not just pulling it to the side, you're actually pulling it to the side of you and back. All right, this is going to be creating a lot more room in that hip capsule. It's one of the most underrated stretches and banded distractions you could possibly do. So just follow the same steps from the second and third variation to set this one up. Obviously, you can switch up the tension of the band to make it easier or harder. All right guys, so hopefully you found this useful. Try one of these variations or a couple of them in your week of training. These fit before training for a short period of time or after training or in your time off for a longer period of time. So feel free to throw them in, ranging from 30 seconds to even 2 minutes, maybe after training, to have a noticeable change in your hip mobility and flexibility. As usual guys, stay tuned for the next one. Take care.